And welcome. Let's take a look at the top story that we are tracking for you. The US intelligence confirmed Islamic State's claim of responsibility for a deadly shooting attack at a concert near Moscow. Let's understand what could be the possible reason for the attack. ISIS-K has a history of attacks on Russia. Here are the attacks in the year 2019. On the 11th of January, 3 apparent terrorists attacked officers of Russia's Road Patrol Service near the village of Agachul in the Republic of Dagestan. The suspects opened fire on law enforcement officers with automatic rifles before being killed by the authorities. On the 13th of March, 2 suspects in the Shpakov district in Stavropol opened fire with automatic weapons. The suspects were killed on sight. On the 8th of April, there was an explosion at the Kolomna near Moscow, which reportedly did not result in any casualties. On the 1st of July, a man killed a police officer with a knife at a checkpoint in the Archoy-Martinovsky district of Chechnya. The police shot and killed the attacker. On the 19th of December, a Moscow region resident opened fire near the FSB headquarters in Moscow and killed 2 security officers and wounded 4 others. The shooter was killed on sight. The attacker was later identified as Yevgeny Manurov, a 39-year-old former security guard. While the recent attack by ISIS-K in Russia was a dramatic escalation, the group has opposed Russian President Vladimir Putin in recent years and have often criticized Putin's propaganda. Experts feel ISIS-K sees Russia as being complicit in activities that regularly oppress Muslims. The ISIS accuses the Kremlin of having Muslim blood on its hands. Referencing Moscow's interventions in Afghanistan, Chechnya and Syria. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Dr. Malcolm Davis, a senior analyst in defence strategy and capability at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, joining us from Canberra. Thank you for being with us. Now, what could be the possible reason for the attack? We have seen a history of ISIS-K attacks on Russia, but this certainly is a dramatic escalation.
Well, I think your lead-in kind of summed it up quite well. I think that this is just the latest in a series of attacks done by ISIS-K against the Russians. It highlights the fact that it is a complex world. On the one hand, the Russians are assisting the Iranians, who are also involved in terrorism by Hamas and Hezbollah. Islamic State in general is more involved in that regard. But then again, you've got Islamic State, ISIS-K, attacking the Russians. So I think that it demonstrates how complex the security situation is in that part of the world. And clearly the Russians need to be concerned, not just in terms of the war in Ukraine, but also the potential risks of Islamist terrorism coming from areas such as Dagestan and Chechnya and so forth.
Absolutely. And Doctor, you've just touched on it. What, if any, could there be an effect from this on the war in Ukraine?
Well, I think this is the key issue. Obviously the attack is tragic. The loss of lives are tragic. But it is how Putin exploits this in terms of justifying a general mobilization, perhaps even a declaration of war. And one of his aides, Peskov, just the other day said that, the war in Ukraine isn't actually a war now. It's not a special military operation. So that's a step towards the Russians being able to essentially declare war, undertake a general mobilization, and bring in a large number of additional men to fight at the front line in Ukraine. The Russians are trying to push the Ukrainians back. They are steadily advancing as the Ukrainians run low on ammunition. They're probing for areas to break through. And to really essentially break out and advance rapidly in an offensive in the rear area, they need a lot more manpower. So this terrorist attack could potentially give Putin the justification to launch a general mobilization and call up large numbers of additional troops or manpower that he could then throw into the front line.
All right. Doctor, thank you very much for being with us on this broadcast and your valued insights there.
Thank you.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.